we as gun people always think is legislation is bad. We hear the word legislation, we automatically assume it's bad, right?
We're freedom loving, Mike.
We are. Gala proved that there can be good legislation.
I'm Ryan Gresham, and this is Gun Talk Nation. Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Savage, Guns and Gear, Black Hills Ammunition, Ruger, Safariland, and Range Ready. Hey, welcome in Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, we're going to talk about something that it's like one of those things that you don't talk about, but we should be talking about, right, guys? Mental health, guns, and everything that goes along with that. So we've got Mike from Walk the Talk America. We got Gala from the Armory Project. And you guys are doing a project here in Louisiana, but it's expanding out. Obviously, Walk the Talk, mental health and guns. Mike, you guys have been handling that for years. But I'm just going to jump right in, thinking about there's a stigma there. And what is it that you guys hear from gun owners when you talk about this subject?
Well, I mean, I think for years, gun owners have just been afraid to come forward and seek mental health treatment and ask for help or even inquire about what to do, like what you can do in a time of crisis, right? There is a fear that people have that.
And what's the fear?
Well, the fear is that you lose your gun rights, right?
Is that a real thing they should be concerned about? Or is that changing?
Well, that's why we're here today talking about that. It's like,
all right.
I think she's changing it here in the state of Louisiana for sure, right? But there are certain states that are tougher than others, so you have to be aware of your state law. Obviously, places like New York are tough, But I think, from my personal opinion, and you've had me on the show before, and your father's always having me on his show. I think we're seeing a cultural shift in the community where we're starting to take care of our own. And I've been super impressed by what Gala's gotten accomplished in the state of Louisiana. And I think it's the gold star, right? Of how to do this on a state by state basis. So I want to see the rest of the country start following her lead to save lives and how we handle prevention, better mental health, all those things, right? But I love the way that she's done this. This model has been done before, but this is, from the Walk the Talk America perspective, this is the leader.
This is how you do it.
This is how you do it in Louisiana,
which
to me is near and dear to my heart, right? Because Walk the Talk America, the concept for it started
in a conversation in Louisiana, in New Orleans, right?
Right.
So Gala, talk about what is this program?
Yeah. So the Armory Project was developed by firearm owners for firearm owners. And it's basically a partnership with FFLs, federal firearm licensees, where they become the credible messengers to talk about, mental health help seeking, normalize those conversations and say, hey, we're here for you if you need any options to put time and distance between a person who's maybe going through a mental health challenge or crisis and their firearm. So the way that they can do that is by storing someone's firearms for them temporarily and voluntarily, giving them some resources to say, hey, there are resources out there for you to get some help that you need, and then you can come get your firearms back when you're ready. And then we have another partnership that we just started with Cannon Security, with Walk the Talk America's help, where a pretty good discount on a range of gun vault products is available to people.
Nice.
And it comes in the mail with materials from Walk the Talk America about responsible firearm ownership and looking after your own mental health, and then materials from the Armory Project saying, hey, now that you have this, storage device in your home, how could you use it to put time and distance between yourself or someone else in the house if you were worried about their mental health?
So when you guys started this, I'm sure it's not just right off the bat, all the gun stores and everybody says, yeah, cool,
Right.
great. I mean, what are some of the things that you ran into, some of the objections, some of the concerns, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, well, the origin story is that we saw that this was happening in a couple of other states where there were maps that were available And the map would say something along the lines of like, call this firearm retailer and talk to them and see if they'll offer storage. So we started out by making those same phone calls and calling FFLs across Louisiana. And what we heard from them was that they thought it was a good idea in a sense, like many of them had lost someone to firearm suicide or they were concerned about their customers. But they immediately said, what's going to happen to us if we store firearms for someone, give them back to that person, and then that person goes on to harm themselves or someone else? We're going to lose our business. We're going to potentially face criminal charges. They were very concerned about it. So we did find 3 firearm retailers in Louisiana. They all were veteran owned. And they all said, you know what, we don't care about this concern. We're going to go ahead and do this anyway. We're going to take the risk.
Okay.
So they started the Armory Project with us. And right along as we were rolling along with that and developing the program with them, they said things to us like, we need some training for ourselves and our staff, because how to have these conversations with a customer, how to help get them to any help that they need, figure out what that help is. And they also just wanted support and infrastructure. You know, how are we going to do this? How are we going to store someone's firearms? So we worked with them to develop a training program, a storage agreement template that they can adapt for their store, and marketing materials. So they piloted the Armory Project with us, and we were able to measure outcomes. And we found that when we trained the staff, it increased their knowledge about how to have these conversations with their customers and their confidence in doing so and their belief that it was important. And we also found that even in this pilot period, these FFLs were able to store firearms for people and help them get to the help they needed. And then what grew out of that was this legislation that was passed in 2022 in Louisiana. And it was the first legislation that said if an FFL stores firearms for someone in need and returns those firearms to the person, as long as they followed the law when returning the firearms, they will be immune from civil liability if something happens. And
how has that opened up to have a lot more locations be on board with this?
So now we're heading towards having 40 locations across the state and hoping to get to 50. Our goal is to have an FFL that will provide storage for anyone who needs it and have a person only have to travel like maybe 20 to 30 minutes to get to them. So we're trying to cover the whole state.
Yeah, I was going to say 50 is a pretty good number in Louisiana. It's not a huge state. And really, you only have maybe about 6 major metro areas. Yeah. So, I mean, 50 FFLs around the state, that gives access to a lot of people.
Exactly. And our goal is not to get every FFL on board, but to get the FFLs who are willing to have their staff be trained, to keep them up to date, because they have a lot of staff turnover. So we have to talk to them about, you know, how do we keep the staff trained when new staff come on board and have them be part of a community of practice. So that's another big part of the Armory Project is that we have a community of practice where the FFLs connect with each other. We meet on a quarterly basis now. It used to be monthly, but they said we can go to quarterly at this point. Yeah. But they get together, they come onto those calls and they talk with each other and they share their success stories and their wins. They share whatever challenges they're dealing with. And they actually really connect and become very connected to the mission and to each other. So if one of them needs help with something, they kind of reach out to each other, even without our interference or us being in the middle. They just reach out to each other and say, hey, I've got somebody with a lot of firearms. I can't store them all. Like, can you help with this?
That's got to be incredibly, I mean, this is an incredible program because this is not something that was happening at all 5 years ago, right?
Right.
I mean, this is, and it feels like, and you kind of said at the beginning, you know, there's an acknowledgement of a need for an openness to discuss the mental health issue. And I mean, I'm seeing it, you know, you see it in the gun world, but I see it in other places, you know, some of the major like men's health magazines, and they're talking about this of just like, it's all right. You can talk about mental health stuff. Let's do this. Let's take a quick break. After the break, I want to talk about some of the stories that I'm sure you have stories of success stories from this. If you're like me, you love 22s and you love lever actions, and Savage has a new one called the Revel. It's a sleek modern take on the classic lever action rimfire rifle. Now they have 2 versions. They have the classic and they have the DLX, kind of the deluxe version. The classic has an oversized lever loop, nice walnut stock. The DLX, a little bit more modernized features and aesthetic, and it has a threaded barrel. This comes in 22, 22 Magnum, 17 HMR, smooth action, nice trigger, very fun, and both of these are quick takedown, perfect for a backpack rifle. Go learn more over at savagearms.com. Introducing Safariland's latest upgrade to its award-winning inside the waistband holster, the Incog X Cordura wrapped holster, now featuring rugged Cordura fabric for next level concealment and durability. Available in multicam, black multicam, and woodland. Designed for optics-ready pistols, the Incog X supports red dots while maintaining a slim profile. It's not just tactical, it's tailored. The Cordura wrap adds a custom feel to the holster, letting you blend in or stand out. You can learn more at Safariland's website. Check it out, the new Incog X Cordura wrapped holster. If you're listening to this show, you probably like guns, but how many classes have you take to make you a better shooter? And that's what we do at Range Ready Studios. Range Ready is a premium firearms training academy in Robert, Louisiana, and it's here at the Gun Talk headquarters. We've got a range out back, actually several ranges. We've got classroom, we've got a shoot house, and we've got some of the best instructors around. And I promise, when people come here, the reviews are 5-star. They love it and they improve on their shooting. You can learn more at rangereadystudios.com. And I'll tell you a trick. Sign up for the email list, because you guys that sign up for the email list are the first to hear about our new classes, and they sell out quick. So how long has this program been running now?
So we started doing outreach in 2020. We actually started the outreach during COVID.
Oh, wow.
And then we did the pilot in 2021. The legislation passed in 2022.
Okay.
So I guess 4 years, roughly.
So, I mean, it's kind of a personal issue, but how do I ask this? I mean, do you know of people storing guns for people? I mean, is that happening pretty often?
Oh, yeah. We get to hear back from... So one of the things I think it's important to note is that we don't ask for any identifiable data, like who are you storing firearms for or anything like that. We just say, can you let us know if you stored firearms for somebody? And then if there's a story behind it that you feel comfortable sharing, then share it. So the FFLs love to do that, because for them, it's why they're doing this. And so they're actually pretty excited when they help somebody.
Yeah.
They also reach out to us if the person needs help that they can't get to. So, for example, we had a veteran who had been really needing mental health treatment, and he'd been getting kind of put off in his appointments. Like they kept kind of getting rescheduled, and he was really at a crisis point. And so this FFL reached out to us. He said, I'm going to store this guy's firearms for him, but we also need to get him to help. So we were able to reach out to the suicide prevention team at that local VA and say, hey, we asked the veteran's permission first.
Right.
But he said, yes, it's okay if they talk to me, if you tell them my name and everything. So we said, hey, you've got a veteran in crisis, like he's not getting his appointments. You really need to reach out and help him. And they did.
Wow.
And so I think part of what helped was that he was able to store his firearms and get them out of the house. But also he felt like somebody cared and somebody was listening and somebody followed up. And actually, like, quite a few people cared. So he felt very supported by that FFL, who happened to also be a veteran and really understood him and where he was coming from. But he also felt supported by the mental health providers. And he felt like, oh, the VA actually does care about what happens to me.
That's fantastic. I mean, it's kind of a force multiplier. You think about 40 or 50 locations and a staff of 3 to 10 people that are trained up on this a little bit. Now you've got a pretty nice resource of people who are talking to everybody, and perhaps maybe more veterans as a percentage of customer base, perhaps in some of those places. So, gosh,
I think that'll change though, right? Like the most important thing is so how many years? I'm going to speak for the firearms industry because I've been in this for so long, right? Like how many years have shop said, well, I want to do something, but I don't know what to do, or how do I do this, right? Like, so everyone puts this big thing on, like, well, how many guns did you store? I don't care if you didn't store one.
Right.
If you're offering it, you don't think that your customer, if they know that they can bring the gun back there, that's not a good feeling. We all love the 2A, right? Like we all want to protect the second. I mean, this is just a perfect way to do it, right? Like the Second Amendment community, the firearms industry, like taking the lead in solutions that do not involve rights restriction. I think it's just as important to offer it as whether or not it's successful in terms of like how you're judging that success. When you have the flyers on the counter, I know Gala has been kind enough to get like the free and anonymous mental health screenings from Walk Talk America into things, right? Like we don't know how many. There's so many lives that are going to be saved that we'll never even know, and that's like the beauty of it. You don't have to. Not everything has to be measured. I know it does, like especially when you're dealing with certain. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't judge things. Sometimes it's anecdotally. You know, I can't share everybody's success story. Sure. You know, because it's their story, and you know, I've had plenty of people say like, you know, I don't want you to share this, but I want you to know like it helped me.
Right. Yeah. Right. I can't really tell the whole story. And you made a good point there, Mike, this is a Second Amendment rights play. I mean, that's not why you're doing it, right, but it is perhaps also a benefit of. I mean, it's a way to help. And you tell me if I'm going to screw this up on the way I'm saying it. Help prevent the misuse of a firearm without taking away anyone's rights. Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, it would be nice to get the misuse of any firearm to zero, because that's good for community. That's good for everything. And it's also good for the two-way message of like, look, this is just a device and you can be used in a safe way and owned in a safe way and enjoyed for recreation and all these things. Right. People listening to this probably either they've experienced it or they certainly perhaps have had loved ones or friends who have experienced some mental crisis or something like that. Are there tips? Are there little tips and techniques and things that are helpful that we can kind of spread the word on?
You mean like if you have somebody that you're worried about and you know they've access to firearms?
They're going like, because heck, a lot of us don't have the experience and training that you guys do. We're like, I don't know, like he's been bummed out a lot lately, or maybe that doesn't mean anything, but I don't know. Like, how do you?
It's a great question.
Figure this out.
What we say is just ask the question. Just ask the person straight out, are you thinking of killing yourself? And don't beat around the bush.
Oh, wow.
And I think the main thing that people worry about is that that's somehow going to put it in the person's head. But we know that's not the case, that if somebody's thinking about it, it's actually a relief for them to be asked because they know that somebody cares and is, asking them. And if they're not thinking about it, they're going to, hopefully just be like, okay, I'm glad you care about me, but no, I'm not thinking about that. And so that's kind of what we say is just ask the question. And then if the person says, or I've been thinking the world would be better off without me, or however they put it into words, then you validate their experience and say, like, it must be really hard to feel that way. I'm here for you. And then you expedite getting them to some kind of care. You engage them in that and say, like, what could we do to help you get, some treatment or whatever resources you need. And that's where with these firearm retailers, they have a list of resources that we've given them, that we've vetted, that we know is like a good resource that's actually going to help somebody if they reach out. So that's just what we say is like, don't beat around the bush, just ask the question. And then meet the person where they're at. Ask them, are you willing to maybe let's get the firearms out of the house for a little bit? And that's why the Armory Project, like an FFL, is a trusted place. They're going to take good care of your prized possessions that are of great value. They're not going to mistreat them. You're going to get them back when you're ready. And they're not trying to take your guns away. Like, that they want to protect your rights just as much as you do. So,
well, and this program sounds fantastic. I mean, it's a formal way to accomplish this. Is it okay, or is it a bad idea if you do have that friend or family member to say, I'll hold on to your guns? Is that a bad idea, or is it okay? And
actually, Mike brought up a great point. Like the actual storage of firearms in an FFL is a pretty rare event. It's not happening every day. And I think some FFLs are a little disappointed in that. They're like, they were excited to store firearms for somebody. But what we say is if you're just planting the seed in the person's mind that temporarily and voluntarily getting some time and distance between them and their firearms is going to save their life. In Louisiana, you can give your firearms to anyone who's not prohibited from legally possessing firearms. Right. So we kind of plant that seed too. If somebody says, you know what, I don't want to store my firearms at an FFL, but you can say to them, well, you actually could just give them to, I've heard stories of people giving them to their minister to hold on to for them. I've heard stories of people giving it to their father-in-law to hold on to for them. That's actually where the idea for the Armory Project came from. Was like battle buddies and, combat veterans saying like, I'm going to get my battle buddy to hold on to my guns for me. But what people had said to us was, first of all, like, we need an option for people who don't have somebody in their life, because social isolation and being cut off from your support network is a big risk factor for suicide. So we needed those people to have options that felt safe and good to them. And also, sometimes there's just stigma in saying to somebody close to you, I want to get my firearms away from me right now. And so an FFL is basically offering like a professional courtesy. I think that's one of the messages that's been really important, is this is not a charity. You know, this is like a professional courtesy that a firearm retailer can offer to their customers. And if we kind of professionalize it like that and make it feel that way, then it doesn't feel quite so stigmatizing.
That's great. Well, and you said it, Louisiana is one of those states, and there's a bunch of states like that I live in Louisiana. I have people all the time go, but like, how do I have to register? I'm like, you don't have to register your guns here. Yeah, there are some states where this would be more challenging, but there's a lot of states. Is it in general, if you don't have like a gun registry or some strange way that you have to transfer guns to someone, you can accomplish this with a friend or family member or something like that.
Yes, that's right.
And also too, I just want to like draw. So we as gun people always think as legislation is bad. We hear the word legislation, we automatically assume it's bad, right?
We're freedom loving, Mike.
We are. Gala proved that there can be good legislation when it comes to firearms, right? Probably got us out of our way of thinking, right? Like that's a thing. Like maybe more legislation could be pushed to have good Samaritan moments, right? Where someone can transfer in a time of need or crisis, right? Like that's the whole point of this is Louisiana is going to show you how to do it right. And then we're going to bring it to your state. You know what I mean?
That's great, like, well, and politicians look to other states for successful legislation ideas. Sometimes, depending on whatever your viewpoint is, sometimes they bring legislation from other states that you hate. You're like, dang it. And then it's, this is one that actually would be like, hey, look, it's already being done. It's a success, because politicians are also quick to go, that won't work here, or they'll probably give me these problems. Well, actually, it's been running for 3 years and there haven't been any problems.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, well, that'd be a good idea in our state, I mean, they could reach out to you guys?
Yeah, we have a website, armoryproject.org.
Okay.
And it's actually on the Armory Project.
Armoryproject.org.
Armoryproject.org.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not good at websites. But yeah, we have
website.
Intranet.
The interwebs. Yeah, so people can contact us on our website. There's kind of a little intake form where they can say like what their question is. They can sign up for our email list. We only send out one email a month, but if they want to learn more about what we're doing, we've already spread into Arkansas, where similar legislation passed because of the Armory Project. And actually, the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention took the lead on that. Montana has a law that's modeled on ours, and Louisiana is even more broad. And then Nevada just passed similar legislation. So we expect to see this expanding into other states.
That's fantastic. Black Hills Honey Badger ammo is a solid copper, non-deforming, non-fragmenting projectile with wide, sharp flutes, ballistic broadheads that cut through barriers that cause hollow points to fail, at least sometimes. An overall increase in depth and width of wound cavities. In that moment when you need the best to defend your family's life or your own, you'll appreciate a certain quality the Honey Badger possesses for the least complicated reason in the world. Well, it works. Want to hear about the latest and greatest in the world of guns? Well, 17 seasons of Guns and Gear, and we are back with another one. You can watch it live on Wednesday nights on the Outdoor Channel, or tune in on all the Gun Talk online channels to see what we're up to. Guns, optics, ammo, we test it all, we interview experts, and we showcase it to you. The latest and the greatest, a new season of Guns and Gear out now. You've probably heard about the Ruger RXM pistol. It's the result of a collaboration between Ruger and Magpul. American-made handgun, stands out with a variety of upgraded features, including direct mount optic cut slide. So you can put an RMR, Delta Point Pro, RMSC cuts with co-witness height sights. It also has their fire control insert. It's a removable stainless steel insert. That's the serialized part of the gun, which enables you to customize using Magpul enhanced grip handgun grips. And so they have different colors, different sizes. You can really customize it. It's Gen 3 compatible, so it works with magazines that you may already own. And we've tested it. We shot it a lot, and we like it. You can learn more about the Ruger RXM over at Ruger.com. Now, what you guys have been doing today is part of that. We were kind of working with and training mental health professionals.
Yeah, it was really inspired by the work of Walk the Talk America. So I should let Mike talk about that.
Talk about what you guys are doing today.
Well, so we have our cultural competence course started by Jake Wiskerson and myself, right? The core of Walk the Talk America when it comes to kind of coming up with these new concepts and new ideas of how to, because we're not just trying to empower people to, be mentally well and have the tools to do it themselves, right? Like, we have the free and anonymous mental health screenings, that type of thing, but we do train clinicians because I think it's a two-way street, right? Like we have to demystify counseling for gun owners, and then we also have to, teach clinicians about gun culture. And it's kind of a play on that. We came out here to help Gala through LSU.
Yeah, so they have this incredible cultural competency training that's online. And I was noticing that every time I talked about it, whenever around mental health providers and any presentation that I gave, I could see them immediately like going to the Walk the Talk America website before I even finished talking.
Oh, wow.
So we got funding to have these mental health providers across, we did it in Ponchatoula, and then tomorrow we'll be in Maurice. And so these mental health providers took the Walk the Talk America cultural competency training online. They passed a test, like a little test pre and post. And then we had an in-person experience today at Apocalypse Sports in Ponchatoula, where the mental health providers came together with firearm professionals for about a half day. And they got a chance to kind of talk together, talk about some of the common misconceptions, or like, how can we build bridges? And then the firearm professionals took the mental health providers out on the firing range, and they got to shoot different kinds of guns.
That's great.
And had a great day together. We already got some good feedback from them, but that's really inspired by the work that they do.
Well, I mean, if you have no experience with a particular subject, there's always going to be some apprehension, some fear about it. I mean, guns are certainly one of those things that you may not even, you don't care. I'm not pro-gun, I'm not anti-gun, I don't care. But if you don't know anything about it, there is apprehension there, and it demystifies it for them. They get a little comfort level of like, okay, it's a mechanical object. This is how it works. This is actually, maybe perhaps it's fun. That's great.
And it's hope too, right? Like, I mean, you watch the media, man. Sometimes you think none of us can coexist, right?
Right.
No, I mean, I know, like when I go speak at events sometimes, especially when it's more of an anti-gun crowd or a gun neutral crowd, like their expectation level of me is absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? So it's like sometimes people are just like, hey man, like I'm not a gun person, but it's kind of cool that you're doing this stuff out there, or you have these out of the box solutions that are different, or I never thought about, that's the other thing. Like, when we throw these classes, we're not, I mean, hopefully people will change their mind on guns, but we're not trying to get you to be pro-gun. We're not trying to get you to be anti-gun. We certainly aren't trying to do that.
Right,
but,
right.
We're trying to get you to be pro-understanding. And, when they hear about laws or something and we talk about the unintentional consequences of maybe some of those laws that they thought were a good idea or they thought were saving lives, and it just gives them another, opportunity to think about this in a different way, still allowing them to maybe hate guns because they don't want to see people killed or die or, or hurt,
One of the ones I've heard you say before is red flag laws.
Right,
and when you tell people about it, they go, oh, I never thought about it that way, right?
Right. They never thought about the unintentional consequence of a red law preventing someone from going to get help because of that fear of losing their gun, right? When I usually say that in front of gun people, they're like, oh yeah, a cop shows up and then there's a shootout. I'm like, no. Even beyond that, right? Let's go way beyond that. Like, think about all the people that are like, I won't get help. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to risk it. And then, they're saying that it may be like stage 2 in their mental health crisis. And then it's going to boil to stage 3 and then 4. And that's when unfortunate things happen, right? But there's a lot of people, when I put it that way, it's like a light switch. They're like, oh man, I never even thought about it. You're right. There could be. And I think we need to get we need to have these conversations because I think there needs to be research on how many people avoid help because they're not willing to take a chance.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a hard one to get those types of stats, right? I mean, it's kind of like guns being used to protect themselves. If there's not like an actual like use of a gun, discharging a gun, a lot of times there's no story except that the guy says, "Man, this crazy thing happened to me, Mike."
Right.
And they never called the cops. It just, I had my gun and the people ran off, and then I got in my car and drove home, and it was no big deal. So there's a lot of unreported success stories on both sides of this.
Right.
Yeah.
But to me, like I said, anytime you can get 30 clinicians to come in and get out of their comfort zone, go fire a gun, ask questions, hear another side of things, be validated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a beautiful thing.
How many of them had not fired a gun before?
I think it was at least 8. Were there about 8 people
6
there
to
who
8
never
or
fired a
something,
gun
or-
before?
yeah.
And
What were their reactions?
pretty positive.
Very
I think.
positive. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you everybody's now converted, right? Like there was one guy that came up to me after, he's like, "I hate guns."
He was still nervous about it.
Well, here's what's awesome though. He hates guns. He still hates guns. I said, that's okay because I told him before we started, I was like, you can come up to me and say that. But he was talking to me about, we had presented a mental health plan. Like if you go to Walk the Talk, you can find a mental health plan for owning a firearm. And all we said was, hey, this exists. It's all in your packets. Like if you ever wanted to ask questions to give your clients something to think about and have a discussion around, use that. And he saw it and he's like, I never would have thought to ask these things. Right. So now he's walking away with something that he can use for all his clients, all the patients, everybody that comes to see him. And, he's going to have a healthier discussion around firearms.
That's a step. That's progress.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And I think like Jake had said to the crowd, like, I just want you to be able to talk to people about their firearms without fumbling over it. I think that's what you were kind of saying, is just like that familiarity and that gaining that confidence. Because if they have the confidence to ask a patient or client, that they're concerned about, do you have access to firearms? They need to ask that question if they're worried about the person's suicide risk. And if they don't have the confidence to do it and they don't do it, that's a lost opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. You guys are doing good things. I appreciate it. How do they find out more about both of you guys? Walk the Talk.
Armoryproject.org.
Armoryproject.org. Okay.
Yeah, you're on
Or
Instagram
Google.
too.
Yeah, we're on Instagram. I think it's armoryproject.org probably, or something.
You'll find it. Look up Armory Project.
The Armory
somewhere.
Project. The Armory Project.
And for us, it's WTTA.org or WalkTalkAmerica.org or on all social media platforms at Walk the Talk US.
Cool. All right. Very cool. That's it for us, guys. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.